Hey guys, it's Blichter here, and today I'm just going to do a quick rundown of my Essence Drain Contagion Trickster. I'm playing this build hybrid, so a hybrid life and energy shield, mostly energy shield. There's going to be three parts to this build. I'm going to go through the gear that I'm wearing, I'm going to go through the gems that I've got equipped, and I'm going to go through my passive tree. And I'll point out anything else relevant that I can think of along the way. So let's start with gear. First off, you want a non-ailment chaos damage over time wand. I believe they may have made this mod rarer this league, but basically you want a wand with tier 1 non-ailment chaos damage over time multiplier. You're going to get that by rolling an item level 78 plus wand with alteration orbs. I'm at about 2,500 alterations this league, and I haven't had any success rolling one. I will note that I'm in solo self-found, so um, your mileage may vary. You can probably get some nicer gear than I'm wearing if you're in trade league for fairly cheap. But this is totally viable for solo self-found. You can get all this stuff yourself with a little bit of hard work and fun gameplay. So yeah, item level 78 plus to roll tier 1 non-ailment chaos damage over time multiplier. After you hit it, you're going to want a regal. Hope for a good suffix, like projectile speed is fine. Possibly a resist. There's not really many great suffixes. Cast speed would be relevant. Um, and then from there, you'll either proceed with an annul or honestly, if I hit a bad suffix on tier 1 at this point, I'm just going to keep the wand and multimod it. Um, you're going to want a multimod for spell damage, damage over time, chaos damage, and skill effect duration is pretty good. Um, yeah, that's the basic idea. It's worth noting that flat damage to spells doesn't apply to Essence Drain, so you're going to be wanting to look for those percent increased modifiers on top of your non-ailment chaos damage over time multiplier. Next up, um, hats. You're going to want a hubris circlet. You're going to want it to have a lot of ES. Life is an okay mod, but energy shield on a hat is super important because of the way Trickster's ascendancy works. So yeah, energy shield and resists on the hat. 300 plus is a pretty reasonable thing to shoot for, to be honest. Next up, we've got neck piece. You're going to want flat energy shield, probably some statistics, dex, strength, attributes, pretty good stats. You can craft on comparable percent energy shield, so it's much more important to get flat on your initial roll, and an open prefix can easily be crafted into 20% increased maximum energy shield. Aside from that, some resists. Chaos resist is relevant for this build because we are playing life energy shield hybrid. Shields, pretty much the same story. You're looking for a lot of energy shield here. We do have some synergy in the tree with shield, energy shield. The percent chance to block is also relevant. I did try and slam a resist onto this, an additional resist, but I hit the crit chance with spells, which does not affect this build at all. It's basically a dead mod, but that's fine. It's a pretty good shield. Next up, the most important piece. This is hands down the most important piece when you're playing a trickster, the chest piece. So what you're going to want is tier 1 flat evasion and energy shield. You can't craft a flat evasion energy shield mod onto a chest, and so you need to hit tier 1 flat. After that, you'd ideally like to hit tier 1%, but if you can't do that, that's fine. I hit tier 3 and I needed a chest to wear, and aside from that, this was a super usable chest for me. Um, so I'm just going to wear it. I mean, I am wearing it. It's honestly pretty good. You can get something comparable to this in solo self-found. You can definitely get something comparable or better than this in Trade League. So keep your eyes peeled for this. The dexterity is not the best mod that you could have there. You could get a Delve quality mod from dense fossils. That'd be really good. I believe you can get Arcane Surge support, also very good. You can roll that with Aetheric fossils. So if you're going to be fossil crafting chests, you're going to want to roll dense and Aetheric, and possibly an additional fossil, depending on what you're looking for specifically. Um, Next up, rings. Pretty straightforward. We've got energy shield, life, resists. I picked up some chaos resist on this one. Same story here. I picked up strength and dex here because at the time I needed them. I'm a little bit over on strength and dex right now, but that's okay because I've got flexibility to drop some. Um, Energy shield and life. That's what you're looking for prefixes, resists, and stats you need for suffixes. These gloves are super boring. They're stats, a resist, an energy shield. I crafted this with an aberrant fossil. It's not the worst way to go for these crystal belts, but you're going to be looking for, again, energy shield, life, some chaos resist is relevant for this build. And Syntrax, if you can get them in Soul Self-Found, are very nice. They're a pretty rare item. I didn't find a pair until I was level 98 last league. You can use rare sorcerer boots, totally fine option. You can get comparable energy shield, they just won't have the evasion. But on the flip side, you can get some resists on them, which is pretty nice. My resists are looking okay. Syntrax are very nice boots. They are quite rare though. Aside from that, flasks. I always use a bleed remove flask with panicked, just in case something happens. Hopefully you're never using the healing part of this, but you probably will be. Um, Freeze remove flask with duration, pretty standard. Silver flask, the ignite removal is not necessary. I'd rather have curse remove or possibly even an additional freeze remove here, but the duration's good. Quartz flasks are super important. They're very helpful in Delve. They're also very helpful against Legion mobs because they're pretty swarmy. They do a ton of damage, and being able to move through them is a huge benefit. Quartz flasks, in my book, are an absolute must for this build. Um, we don't have a lot of defensive options. We've got no triggered guard skills. So you literally move through things to get away from them sometimes. Quartz flasks are super important, not to mention the dodge chance, which is helpful. This granite flask is not necessary. I'd like to run a jade here. I just happened to remove it from my filter and I haven't found one yet. So I'll be replacing this with a jade flask, probably with either movement speed or increased evasion rating. Yeah, so that's it for gear. Next up, gems. Running 2 auras, malevolence and discipline. You can run an enlighten. You don't have to the way this build's set up. You'll have enough mana to be casting your essence drain to your heart's content. But 2 auras, malevolence, discipline. That's about it. Contagion. Oh, I should note, discipline is Vol Discipline. We do use Vol Discipline defensively, so just buy a level 1 discipline and corrupt it until you get a Vol Discipline. Pretty easy. Contagion, pretty important. You'd like to get a level 21 if you can. That's what I'm leveling up in my offset right now. 2 gems you need to use with Contagion. Basically mandatory, at least the way that I see it for Essence Drain Contagion. Use Intensify for the AoE. Use Increased AoE for the AoE. I run it in a 4-link with faster casting. It kind of helps the combo cast of Contagion and Essence Drain feel less clunky, but this is not a mandatory gem. You can pop this out. You can run it in a 3-link, depending if you've got something else you'd like to be running. I personally don't. I like faster casting, but optional gem for sure. Next up, Dash. Vol Grace. I'm not running actual Grace, just Vol Grace defensively. And Arcane Surge, linked to Dash. This is how we proc our Arcane Surge. It's not the best way to do it, but Dash. You can also use a phase run here. That's what I did last league. I think phase run's a really strong option for a movement skill for Essence Drain Contagion. If I were leveling to 100, I would definitely be using phase run and running easier maps. If you're bossing, Dash is a fantastic skill. It's super responsive. It's got a short cooldown. It bails you out of basically every telegraphed attack, beam, ball, flame blast, you name it, dash will get you out of the way. It's an awesome skill to use. Quality on it increases the cooldown recovery speed. Um, it goes down to about 1.3 second cooldown. It is technically possible to get a bit more in the tree. Also, if I could ever find an enhance, you can link an enhance to this and run your Vol Grace elsewhere, like possibly in this slot instead of a faster casting. Um, yeah, so that's sort of my opinion on movement skills. Flame Dash is also really good. I've played around with it a bit, but I like Dash a bit better just because you can dash repeatedly while you're bossing. And I've been running a lot of Uber Elder on this character, so that's what I've been doing. Your Essence Drain setup. Essence Drain, Void Manipulation, Efficacy, Swift Affliction, Controlled Destruction. This last link right now is Arcane Surge. I haven't found an Empower yet. An Empower is best in slot, in your 6th slot. Solo self-found problems, sometimes you don't get an Empower. I'd pay 2 Exalt for one, but it's solo self-found, so I don't have one. Arcane Surge is a pretty close second. Another acceptable option in this slot is Decay. It's going to be more topical against single targets. With Legion, rares, and mobs being so beefy, I think Arcane Surge is probably the best option to run in your 6th slot if you don't have an Empower. If you do have an Empower, it's definitely better than Arcane Surge. At least it is at level 3, and at level 4, it's going to be much, much better than Arcane Surge. Next up, I run Bane with 2 curses. I'm running Despair and Temp Chains right now. It's possible to run this with 1 curse. I would run just Despair. I think Temp Chains is really nice, especially for Legion mobs. Like I said, they're scary this league. And Efficacy is just for damage. You do get a bit of extra skill effect duration, which applies to the damage and the curses duration on enemies. Bane. Bane's really good. It's good for cleaning up small enemies, pushing out extra damage on beefy rares, bosses. Pretty versatile. And finally, I run Blight in a double totem slash triple totem setup, however you like to look at it. Blight, multiple totems, faster casting, spell totem. You'll see once I get to the tree, I'm running the support gem for Blight, so it applies Withered to enemies. With multiple totems, you can place 2 totems at a time, and you get +2 to max totems, which means you can get 3 totems total. It's worth noting that this multiple totems gem has a 21% less damage multiplier, and this has a 26% less damage multiplier and a less cast speed multiplier. However, you are placing 3 totems, so if each totem is doing about 50% damage with 30% last cast speed, you're still coming out slightly ahead from just casting Blight without supports. But the advantage of running totems is that you can position much more safely. You can be positioning while bosses are using things, while your Blight totems spam away on them. Positioning the totems is a little bit difficult to get the hang of, but once you do get the hang of it, I just feel like it's much, much better for bossing in particular. Uber Elder, Shaper, most bosses that I've encountered, I have no problem getting my Blight totem somewhere where the boss isn't just fragging them immediately. Possibly an exception to that is like, I think Minotaur is probably the worst boss that you'll run into. That'll kill your totems a lot, but Minotaur is just kind of annoying, and really we just run away from him, so that's fine. Next up, we're going to get into the passive skill tree. So, start with the Ascendancy. The order I take these nodes in is this guy, Patient Reaper. That's my first point every time I'm leveling this character. Next up, Ghost Dance, second point. Next up, Escape Artist, that's my third point. And Uber Lab, I'll take this. Prolonged Pain is basically the cherry on top. It's skill effect duration, more damage over time. The reduced damage taken from damage over time is not that important. Some more things to note. This 70% increased recovery rate of life, mana, and ES if you've killed an enemy affected by your damage over time recently. The bottom line of this, that does apply to enemies killed by Essence Drain. Your Essence Drain does apply a regen effect to you, to your life. Personally, I convert that to Energy Shield regen with Zealot's Oath. but that is affected by the 70%. Also, any regen you have is affected by that. This recovery rate is super strong. It's a super strong mod. Also, the ES life and mana on kill is super strong. This will keep you topped up as long as you're killing things. It's probably the main way that we get our health and energy shield back. The 50% increased damage over time is relevant, but not really the biggest source considering how much we get elsewhere in the tree. Ghost Dance. This used to be really, really strong node. It's still a pretty strong node, but Ghost Shrouds got nerfed. They regen slower, and you can really feel how much slower they regen. You can no longer face tank things and have Ghost Shrouds. If you face tank, you're out of Ghost Shrouds, and then you're getting stunned, and you're not getting your damage reduction. You're not getting your other bonuses from Ghost Shrouds. Escape Artist is absolutely amazing. It makes Ghost Shroud totally worth it. The top two lines, +5 evasion per ES on helmet, and +1 ES per 6 evasion on body armor. Those are super, super strong. I think those are almost stronger than anything else on this ascendancy point. I'd like to point out on your chest piece, you have 1900 evasion if you've got a decent roll. Call it 1800 for the sake of math. This is saying that for every 600 evasion on your body armor, you're getting 100 flat energy shield. If we have 1800 evasion, that means we're getting 300 flat energy shield. That means that this chest, in addition to actually providing the evasion it provides, is providing over 730 energy shield. That's an absolute colossal amount of energy shield to get from a chest. That's why you spend your currency on crafting a chest. A chest is super important. It'll get you a ton of energy shield. It'll make you feel pretty invincible. Yeah, so that's what I've got to say about the Ascendancy. I'll try and whip through the passive tree a little bit quicker. So we are picking up damage and energy shield. This is a pretty efficient node. Through here, chaos damage, physical damage is irrelevant. Some cast speed, dex and int, damage over time, skill effect duration. From here, we're just coming down to here, picking up these nodes. Some all res in here, some ES recharge rate, which is relevant because we run Ball Discipline. I will pick up these two nodes soon, TM. We've got ES Life, Evasion, Regen, Small Res. Those are great nodes. Projectile speed is relevant for Essence Drain. It helps your projectiles get there faster against bosses that are mobile. For example, Shaper in the Uber Elder fight is still moving at turbo speed last I checked. AoE is also super important for spreading our contagion, so these nodes are great. Spell damage, mana regen, basically just pathing through. Down here, we're taking these nodes for ES and Evasion. I will take this node at some point. Damage over time, this is a fantastic node. Non-ailment chaos damage over time multiplier is the most important damage stat in the entire build. You want to get as much of this as possible wherever you can. The only place I think in the tree that I'm not picking it up, I suppose there's two places. There's here. This is a bow node, so it's like 4 dead points, literally 4 dead points to get 10%. So that's really not worth it. And over here, some people do pick these nodes up. You can get 14% over here. It doesn't really fit into my build. It is possible to pick these up. I'd pick these up if you were looking for some more damage. But honestly, you shouldn't really need more damage than we've got here. Carrying on, we've got Life and Energy Shield, these hybrid nodes. These are super efficient because we are playing hybrid. Over here, this was one of the last nodes that I took. So spell damage, synergized with the shield. I do have some block chance on my shield, so this does give me a little bit of bonus spell damage on top of what I would have normally. I'm mostly running this for the avoidance of ailments and stuns because freezes and stuns are terrible and they kill you. Up here, chaos damage and non-ailment chaos damage over time multiplier, which just rolls off the tongue so good. Up here, we've got flat ES and ES recharge rate. The flat is pretty good up here. It's higher than you'll get anywhere else in the tree, but the ES recharge rate and the faster start are kind of one of the main reasons we come up here, because fall discipline will just immediately start it, and that is based on our ES recharge rate. Down here, these nodes are great for spellcasters. Bit of spell damage, bit of AoE, a lot of AoE, 20% here if you've killed recently, which is fantastic for clearing maps. Carrying on down here, you don't need pain attunement. I was messing around with an elegant hubris earlier, so that doesn't need to be spec'd right now. But taking this hybrid node, coming over here, we've got ES, pretty straightforward, mana and mana regen, and some ES for having mana. This is a fine node. We take enough mana in the tree that this is pretty economical, pretty efficient node, definitely worth 2 points. Over here we take the life and mana. That helps get some value out of this. Also helps keep our mana freed up. We do skip these 2 points. Area damage does not apply to Essence Drain, although it does apply to Bane and Contagion. Basically what we get out of these 2 points is 5% increased AoE per point. I don't think that's really super worth it, so I just pass straight through. Spreading Rot is enabled in this slot. There is 40 intelligence, plus about 80 more on top of that in range, so this is what's allowing our Blight to inflict Withered. Withered is a super strong debuff for Chaos builds. It's not diminished by bosses, and so we want Withered. That's why we have this here. Coming over, we've got life and all res. This is 7.5% increased life per point and 5% all res total. It's pretty efficient. These nodes are fantastic. This is why you want to have a super high ES shield. If you have to, prioritize ES on your shield over resists and pick your resists up elsewhere. Boots, gloves. This gives a total of 100% increased ES from your equipped shield, which is a lot. And you do actually block things occasionally, which is kind of helpful, and that gives you some more damage. And not bad nodes, really, but mostly taken for the ES from shield. We take all these ES nodes. Come over here. These int nodes are actually worth a fair bit. You get a total of 70 int plus 8%. I'm running about 550 int right now, which is over 100% increased energy shield. Definitely worthwhile. If you've got any amount of int on gear, this node can become super worthwhile. Up here, damage over time, NACDOT. I do pick up an extra curse. You don't have to. You can run single curse to spare, like I talked about earlier. Coming down here, we've got ES and mana. This reduced mana cost of skills actually kind of sucks a little bit because it makes it harder to proc Arcane Surge at higher ranks, but that's fine because there's a lot of ES and mana over here. And like I said, we do scale our ES off our mana a little bit, and so you kind of take what you can get. Zealot's Oath allows the life regen applied by our Essence Drain to regen our energy shield instead of our life. It also moves all of our percentile life regen over to energy shield as well. Zealot's Oath's really good for this build. Basically what it means is that you're not going to be regenning your life, but that's okay. We've got a flask, and we've got some chaos res and life, which is pretty good. Down here, just some ES and all res. That's basically all that's going on in the passive skill tree. Other than that, just some stats. So when I've got Arcane Surge up, rocking 182,000 chaos damage a second. That is a little bit on the low side. That'll go up with a better wand to about 230k it should be. And then an Empower level 3/4 will increase the DPS of this build to like in the 300k range. Right now I am level 96. I played this build level 99 last league. It is pretty tanky, pretty strong. I will have a video linked in the description of me clearing a map if you're interested in some gameplay. Other than that, if you have any questions about Essence Drain Contagion mechanics, different ways you can play this, there's a lot of variation that you can get with Essence Drain Contagion, but I found this to be the highest EHP variant that you can play. I believe I'm the highest energy shield character in SSF Legion as of this video. And I also have life, which the next 7 or 8 people don't have any of. So that puts me at least 3 to 4,000 EHP above other players, which you can really feel in maps. You tend to die less. Not the quickest variant, but at any rate, I hope this has answered any questions you may have about Essence Drain Contagion, how to build it, um, how to make a hybrid character. One thing I will note, playing hybrid, you want to have at least 30% chaos resistance with 2500 life to be doing T16s, in particular the Temple of Azoatl and incursions. Incursions have chaos spitters that will just absolutely shred your health pool if you're running anything less than 20% chaos res and 2500 life. If you can dodge them, you can get away with a fair bit less, but as a general guideline, I always shoot for 30% chaos res and about 3000 life. You can have a bit of wiggle room on both of those either way. Less life, more chaos res, more life, a little bit less chaos res, but you will die to chaos damage sometimes if you are below that threshold. Yeah, so I hope this video has been helpful to you guys. If you've enjoyed this or you have any questions, go ahead and post a comment down below. Thanks for watching.